This Voice Registry podcast is brought to you by voicebank.net. This is part 2 of my interview with internet radio personality and voice actor Geremy Dingle.
And I actually cast a whole bunch of voice actors and turned the novel into what's called an iSoap, which is like a radio play.
And do they get paid? I know people
Yes.
are wondering this.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good thing.
I actually drew up a budget, and because I'm also a voice actor, I knew it was a non-union gig, but I was also very sensitive to the fact that I think that too many voice actors are just grabbing up jobs for $20 here and there.
Yeah, right.
And it's just hurting everybody.
Yeah.
So fortunately there was a budget. I was able to pay people at least something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't embarrassing writing the $20 check,
Yeah.
And I found a wonderful group of people, and it couldn't have been a better experience all around, really. So this site just launched in the summer.
And is that an internet radio site, or is that...
This site is specifically designed to take fiction, books, unpublished, and turn them into iSoaps, which is the technical term for radio plays. So they're fully produced. Okay. So you don't have just one narrator saying, and she removed the kitten from the tree. And it's fully produced so that there's a whole cast of characters, there's music, there's sound effects. It really sort of brings it to that next level. So for people who want that, and it's so popular nowadays for people to just go and download an audiobook or something like that, why not have them fully produced, right? Just adds to the production quality and the value. So I was plugging that, and I'd gotten myself a number of radio interviews, one of which was on a site called latalkradio.com, and the owner of that station interviewed me. And after the interview, we covered kind of the gamut. The interview was essentially plugging the new site, but he was also interested in what it was I was doing as a performer, because I do cover a lot of ground. So we were blah, 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 chatting away, and he offered me a show, my own radio show, on the spot kind of thing. And so I said, well, sure, great. Yeah, why not? Thanks for the offer, and I'll make good on it. So that's how essentially I got started with Dingle Net Radio Show. And then from there... What was the third question, or did I already cover that one off?
How did you get into the internet radio? What's your show about?
Okay, now what's the show's about? Now I can tell you what the show's about.
Yes,
I told you how I
absolutely.
Sort of found
Tell
it.
us what.
Yeah. So the show essentially it's a lot of things. In a sentence, I try to keep these descriptions simple because, whenever I hear something new information, I like to keep it as effective as possible. It's an innovative and intelligent radio show.
And are you interviewing people, or are you just talking?
It is a combination of musical discussions and spins, which means that I talk about, say, a style of music, an artist, for example, and discuss a specific element of that. I've covered a whole bunch already. One element, for example, is scat music.
Okay, so it's all about music.
Nope, it's not all about music. There's also a section. I've basically broken it into like 4 or 5 segments.
Okay.
So that's one segment. Another segment is called the Dingleberry News. Okay. Again, there's the Dingle spin. The Dingleberry News is I research and find the most bizarre yet true news stories from around the world, and then I have a character deliver them. Now, the character's name is Annie Fanny.
Okay.
She's an English woman. She kind of sounds like this, Annie Fanny, and she delivers the Dingleberry News. So she delivers as the news correspondent, and I am, of course, interacting with her in a lively and engaging way, right? Like, wow, great. How interesting. A man actually thought the sock was his wife. Yes, it's unbelievable how some people they should put their spectacles on, that type of thing. So it's fun.
Great.
Then there's a section called Classic Film Scenes Recreated, where I discuss, so many people have favorite movies and so forth. So I take an excerpt from a favorite film like Casablanca, for example, and take, say, the final 2 minutes of that final scene where Rick and Ilsa are having it out on the runway. I talk about the scene and the film and give some interesting trivia, and then I recreate the scene doing all of the voices in the scene.
Okay, so you are a one-man show on your radio show.
Yeah, I do it's an estimate, but probably between 15 and 20 different voices per show, seamlessly.
Oh, amazing. Okay,
that's the challenge. Yeah.
Where is the show now? I know you've switched over. Where are you now? Where can people find you?
People can find me now on a site. To spell the site is easier. It's WIRNonline.com, which stands for World Internet Radio Network. WIRNonline.com. And it's Saturdays, in real time, live time, it's Saturdays 6 p.m. on the East coast, and on this coast, it's 3 p.m.
And so how has this helped you as a voice actor? Have you gotten any voiceover gigs from this or just career things?
Interestingly, yes. I find that the listeners that I'm getting are really interested and engaged in what it is that I'm doing. And they're amazed that I'm doing all of these voices. I'm essentially creating a show with a cast of people, but I'm doing all of these voices. And so that in itself is a tremendous exercise.
it's great exposure for animation. I mean,
too.
I think it could be really helpful for you to tell, to be able to tell an agent or animation producers, come listen to the show and hear, and they could listen to it and get a sense of what you can do.
That's right. And for voiceover people listening, one thing that I'm sure that producers, agents, whomever are looking for in the world of animation and generally in the world of voiceover is original characters.
Yeah.
So I intentionally, I'd say the majority of the characters on my show are original characters. The way I use celeb voices and well-known voice characters is I'll throw, like in the film scenes, for example. That's a good place for them because people are familiar with that. It's a nice way of exercising that muscle as well because obviously there's the market for impressions and being an impressionist.
Absolutely.
But to keep the original characters alive and flowing and discovering them just by living.
Well, Geremy, this has been great. I'm already thinking that I want to have you back and talk to you more about this. And we'll listen for your show Saturdays live.
Saturdays, yes, and it will be 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay.
Or I believe that's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And then they can download it later.
Yes, I'm actually going to podcast it, and if you go to that site and you find the Dingle Net Radio Show, you'll see a link to where you can listen to archives.
Okay, perfect. And how can they reach you? Do you have a website yourself?
Absolutely. It's jeremydingle.com.
Jeremy with a G.
Thank you. Jeremy with a G is the only thing. And in fact, if you Google Jeremy with a G, I think I'm the first link.
Lucky you.
Lucky me.
Great.
Unusual name.
So another example of new media crossing over and getting in, connecting with the traditional media and helping the voice actor, we think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No question. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Geremy.
Thank you, Tracy.
This Voice Registry podcast was brought to you by voicebank.net. Join us next time.